people are going, they're getting beaten, they're getting lashed just because of their sexual orientation. In 2022, we're going and we're staging one of the biggest events in the world, arguably the biggest sporting event on the planet. Is that or the Olympics, right? And you are hosting, you're letting a country host that is stuck in like pre-1950s ideology. It's disgusting, mate.
Stuart Hodge, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Not too bad, mate. Happy days.
I was going to say excited for the World Cup, but you are not going to watch it. So tell us why.
Not a minute, mate. This World Cup is unlike any other I can remember because I don't think anyone is particularly looking forward to the event, as it were. I think people are just looking forward to the football. And it's obviously it was corrupt, the process to get it. England had the best bid for it and didn't get it. And now you just look at everything that has gone on in the lead up to it. The abdication of duty of journalists as well, in terms of challenging it. But we'll probably come on to talk about the fact that anyone who does try to challenge it in the state is silenced. And then you saw the clip in Danish TV, which sums up that this is a state that has the eyes of the world on it. And it's a state that is pretty totalitarian in its approach. And I'm not watching something where thousands and thousands of people have died just to stage an event. It's abhorrent, it's gross, and I'm not that into the football. And thankfully, Scotland didn't.
I was going to say it's very easy to boycott a World Cup when your country aren't there. But you know, if they were there, presumably, you'd have the same stance.
I'd have the same stance. I mean, I'd have to watch the Scotland games because, unfortunately, we've only been to one World Cup in my living memory, two in my lifespan. So I think the fact that we've not been to many World Cups would mean that I would have to watch it. But I probably wouldn't watch any of the rest of the games. I think I would maintain that stance because this goes beyond football, mate. And I think you're seeing the same happening with this. And I'm not on board for the sports washing. I just amn't. And I think when you look at like, the situation at Newcastle, for example, right now, you look at that and you think, right, like, how much do you care about the soul of your football club? And I think it would be a really, really hard situation for me if I was a Newcastle fan right now, because obviously Eddie Howe's got them playing some good football. But I would hate the ownership that was in charge of my club. I'd maybe go and watch Blythe Spartans instead.
What do you make of the journalists going out there to Qatar to report on it? Like, because from my point of view, there's a way that you can go there and still fulfill your duty as a journalist.
Well, you can to a point, but look at those Danish guys that were just doing basically a piece to camera a roundabout or something, you know, and like they're getting banned for doing that. But I was speaking to a friend of mine who actually used to work out in Qatar, and he says that is something that is pretty common out there, that they just get paranoid as soon as you start filming anything. Even the culture that we kind of now live in, for better or for worse, where people film stuff on their phones. In Qatar, they get very, very nervous about that stuff. It's a pretty private place. So how do you tally giving the World Cup to a country where they are uncomfortable with that kind of thing? And then the world's media are going there. And yeah, you say about doing their job while they're there. It's great. Gary Neville and Have I Got News For You saying that he's going to challenge it. Yeah, because like BN are going to take a really, really challenging stance on events in Qatar, aren't they? I mean, Al Jazeera and BN both appear to be pretty much in the pockets of the state, because otherwise they would just get banned. I know a story of a journalist that works for one of the agencies, and it was a kind of running joke in Qatar that he was essentially blacklisted from every event. There was a website called Doha News that disappeared overnight after they wrote one piece that was vaguely critical of the state. You're going into a regime that is completely different. And in terms of journalists doing their job while they're over there, all well and good, but the horse is bolted, mate. Like, this World Cup is now happening. It's happening at the wrong time of year. It's totally ruining the club football calendar, bar for countries like Norway or whatever, where the winter's actually the gap. And I just look at what's going on, and I think it's all too little too late now. Like, anything that's happening now is too little too late. There's 6,500 migrant workers' lives that have been cost. If you look at the Qatari state figures, I think it's 3, because they only count it if you actually physically die on the job. But there's so many other things going on. There's like workers' camps, there's abhorrent conditions, there's forced labour. I mean, we're talking about a country that's got LGBT conversion camps just 35 minutes drive out of the capital city, you know, or the main city in Doha. So, like, I think the fact that you've got that, people are going, they're getting beaten, they're getting lashed just because of their sexual orientation. In 2022, we're going and we're staging one of the biggest events in the world, arguably the biggest sporting event in the planet. Is that or the Olympics, right? And you are hosting, you're letting a country host that is stuck in like pre-1950s ideology. It's disgusting, mate. And I think, I mean, it's not, what difference is it going to make me no watching it? It's not going to make much difference, right? But I kind of can live with myself and sit there thinking, right, I've done the right thing. And I've got a funny feeling this is going to be the World Cup, that Messi wins, and I'm going to miss it.
So this morning it was announced that there'll be no beer sold at these stadiums, despite Budweiser being one of the main sponsors. Now, that seems to, 2 days before the tournament starts, the goalposts moving. It's quite alarming, isn't it, that the Qatar royal family can intervene at such a late stage and kind of overrule something that FIFA had? Or should we accept that in a Muslim country it's quite reasonable for there to be no beer?
Well, I think this was a situation that anyone who has spent even a modicum of time in Qatar would have been able to tell you would happen. I know people that have spent time in jail where all they've done is, so people that I know that have been over there that have gone to places where you drink will get an Uber 200 meters even home just to avoid the chance that they pass someone. And you can be put in jail in Qatar for having red eyes. So it doesn't take much alcohol to give you slight sort of red eyes, does it? So this is not your like louts sort of peeing in fountains and all sorts of stuff like that. This is, I'm talking like the very, very base level of having drunk. So yeah, I think there's an element of, in any country you should go and you should respect the customs, and I think that's quite right. And I mean, I don't drink anyway, but if I did, then I think over there I probably wouldn't, because, but I mean, it's kind of hard, because if I thought the country was worth respecting, then I would be respectful of its customs, and I probably would anyway, because I hold myself to that standard, right? But I totally understand if, I mean, the country's got to bend in one way, and then you've got to bend to the country in the other. So, yeah, some people should definitely respect the kind of customs and culture of whatever country. But at the same time, the country's got to go, look, this is a global event, right? One of the sponsors is an alcohol brand. And I mean, that's only one side of it. But also, people are coming from all across the world. But it's like, it's the falseness of it, man. Like, it's the fact they're paying 50 fans for Wales and 50 fans for England to go over there so that it looks like they are actually having the global event, and that police aren't just reading out anywhere, you know, and imposing that kind of draconian law. But right, look, I understand the kind of news stories that are coming out today, but anyone that I've spoken to that has spent time in Qatar, and there's been a few people, have said everybody saw this coming. Like, literally everyone predicted this happening. And now it's come to pass. I don't think it should be any surprise, but I think that points to the abdication of journalistic responsibility, because this is something that should have been addressed ahead of time. We're a couple of days out, man. It's mental. And listen, everyone's free to do what they want, right? That's the key thing. Like, we live in a country where most things are, at least for now, free. So on that basis, we are free to make decisions and do what we wish. We have given this global event to a country where that is not true, where you're not free to be gay, where women are frequently having to go into sham marriages or thrown in jail because they had the temerity to be raped. Like, you know, it's disgusting. There's so much about what happens over there that is just beyond the realms of what is even vaguely approaching the basic rights that a human being should have. And that's why it's wrong.